Grand Rising, everyone. So I'm back, and I'm back with another dream. This particular dream started off a little different. I was in this room, sitting on a couch, and across from me was this woman sitting cross-legged on another couch, and she started to tell me about something that happened to her. She the way she communicated with me was both verbally and telepathically. So, the way I'm going to describe this story is what she showed me telepathically in my mind, visualization wise, because she was able to emit pictures of the environment and everything that happened to me, and she also verbally told me what was happening. So, it was very interesting in a sense. So, what ended up happening to her was, just to set the scene, she's hanging from this long rope ladder. It's like a long rope ladder in the middle of the ocean. You can't really see where the ladder is going. It goes down into the ocean. I don't know how far down. And it goes up beyond the clouds. Then around her is, the different shades of blue of you being out in the middle of the ocean, along with a couple of bridges and tunnels. Not a lot, but a few, maybe like three different ones. They weren't quite near her, but she could see them. And there were people walking along these bridges, driving in these tunnels, just going about their day on their paths, living their lives, and wasn't really paying much attention to her. She was the only person that was on this rope ladder. So she ends up starting to climb down this rope ladder into the water. She starts very high up, and it seems like forever down, but she ends up just trying to securely travel down the ladder. It's kind of hard because when you travel down a ladder, especially a rope ladder, you can't really see your feet all the time, and it's hard to necessarily maneuver. But she ended up just steadily putting her feet on each rung of the ladder, trying to move down. She wasn't really sure what she wanted to do or what she was doing, and especially didn't know what she was going to do when she reached the water. So she's just contemplating everything that's happening as she continues to just tread down this rope ladder. And then she ends up at the bottom of the ladder. Her body is half in the water, or really mostly in the water, and maybe her upper torso is above the water. And she has her hand on the last rung of the ladder that is above the water. And then all of a sudden, she just looks up. And whatever she sees, she doesn't really describe what she saw. Instead, she showed me how she felt as she looked up. And as she looked up, she just got this feeling of just drive and motivation. And she decided to abort her mission into the unknown waters. It kind of felt like as she was traveling down, she was kind of traveling down into her own demise steadily and confused and unsure. But as soon as she looked up, it's like she felt this new hope and ambition and vigor in her. And she just started climbing back up the ladder. And in my mind, I'm like, you did all that work to get down there and you didn't even see what was under the water. So my first question that I asked her was, wasn't it hard climbing back up the ladder after you did all that work to get down there and then you're climbing up the same ladder? Wasn't it harder to climb back up? And she told me no. She said going back up the ladder was easy. Going down the ladder was the hard part. And then the dream ended. So I was quite confused. I kind of had a couple ideas of what it meant, but I wasn't really sure. So what I ended up doing when I'm unsure about my dreams is, I just go searching. I start looking on the internet about what people like, looking up keywords about dreams, about ladders and water and this and that. And I decide whatever speaks to me is what I'm meant to take out of the story. So the things that I saw that spoke to me, one person or a blog was saying that when you dream of descending down a ladder, um, and when you start at the top and you see yourself climbing down in the dream, it means that you have done something that you are embarrassed by or makes you feel inferior to others. Or this can sometimes be a symbol for insecurities about your own self worth and value. And that makes sense because a lot of the things that I saw was when you have a ladder in your dream and you're ascending upward, you're like persevering through your goals and you're ascending to your higher selves. And when you go down the ladder, it means you're maybe being self deprecating or you're honing in on your insecurities. And it makes sense because you're kind of getting like swallowed by the water. The water in this dream to me kind of represents your own lower selves and your insecurities. But the thing that I was kind of confused about was the fact that she was saying it was easier to climb up than to climb down. But she started up top and decided to climb down. So I was confused about that. So I kept looking and I looked at some like climbing forums, and one thing that I saw on Quora said that down climbing is tougher because it runs contrary to what we're used to. It's generally harder to see the footholds when climbing down, and that when moving upwards, those footholds are closer and often easier to see. I would add that the human body is far more able to move upwards. We tend to be able to pull up naturally. Down climbing is more about body tension than power. Gently extending oneself downward onto footholds one does not trust due to the lack of visual confirmation. That adds to the difficulty. So then the dream actually made instant sense to me. When she was climbing down, she had no direction. She couldn't see her feet. She didn't really know what she was climbing down to or where she was going. She just knew that in that moment, that's just what she was doing. She was climbing down, no intentions, no direction, unknowing what she wanted to get out of it, but she did it, right? And then as she got down into the water and she looked up, looking up on a ladder and climbing up is about clear intention and clear vision, clear direction. It was kind of like an aha moment where I can choose where I want to go and what I want to do, and I can decide to climb up. So once she decided that she wanted to climb up, it was easier because she had a purpose, she had a path. She ended up getting so much energy and vigor out of just knowing where she was going. Now, I think she didn't explain to me what she saw when she looked up because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what she saw. What matters is she decided that she was going to do it. She was going to ascend to her goals because the metaphor climbing up the ladder is going towards your goals and persevering versus going down the ladders is more about self-deprecation and honing into your insecurities. And I feel like most of the time when we become insecure, sometimes we don't even really know what we're insecure about or why we're so down on ourselves, and we just get swallowed by something that probably could be so small, but it seems like an ocean full of self-loathing, and it's just going to gobble us up and take us down under forever until we drown to our own demise. But if you just look up and you see that there's a path out there for you and you decide that that's what you want to do, it doesn't have to be. I think the most difficult part of it is sometimes we think that once we decide to make a path or we make a decision about what we want, that's the end all be all. But you can always change what you want to do and do different things and divert your paths and whatnot. But sometimes you just have to decide and walk. Instead of being honed in about what you can't do, think about what you can do and decide to focus on that. Decide to set your intentions on something more positive, more higher level, opposed to sinking in down and drowning in your insecurities and the lower levels of yourself. Focus on the positive. Focus on what you can do now and just walk. And you'll be surprised how much energy you get out of it, and how much you can ascend into the clouds, and that the sun is beyond the clouds and it gets lighter and brighter the more you just decide to keep going up. And it's ironic because when I had the dream, I was like, doesn't it take more energy to go uphill than downhill? Like, what is she talking about? It does take more power. It really does, than just going down. But once you decide to be active, energy just starts flowing. And I noticed that, like, whenever you focus on something positive or whenever you do something that serves your higher self, you get this rush of energy and this rush of excitement. So, although the task takes more power, you have more energy available to you because you decided that that's what you're going to do. And the universe bowed down to your decision because you decided that's what you were going to do. And you'll be shocked that once you decide, how things around you start serving you. It's amazing. Like, it's really amazing. So, the dream was just so beautiful once I had the realization of what it meant. And it kind of got me out of a rut too and helped me just decide to walk my path and decide on things I wanted for myself right now. It doesn't have to be, it can change tomorrow, it can change next week, it can change next month. But I just decided to focus on things that give me energy. I decided to focus on things that I can do and that I can improve on. And I decided not to get stuck on my own insecurities and my own lower selves. Granted, I feel like sometimes it's good to think about your insecurities and then try to find ways to deal with them or work through them or see why you feel like this or that and then move on. But you have to move on. Don't let it drown you. Don't let something so small drown you, because I promise you, you can do a lot more than you can't do. So I'm grateful for this dream and for all the unfaithful expectations life has for me.